here amongst all of you. First of all, I have to say that compared to many of you in this room, I am not an expert in AI. My forte is youth participation, development, and youth policy. But ITU somehow found out that I'm in town and wanted me to come here and join all of you and share some of the perspectives that I have come across in working with and for young people in the past year in my capacity as the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Youth. So 4 of the topics that I'm extremely passionate about are education, gender equality, meaningful participation, and governance. So I'm going to warn you that these are the 4 things that I'm going to talk about in the context of AI and young people. First of all, let me give you a little bit of context to why everyone is suddenly excited about youth and are talking about youth and want to include youth and young people in almost all the discussions that we are having internationally right now. Today, the world is home to the largest generation of young people that the world has ever seen. 1.8 billion human beings on this planet are between the ages 10 to 24, and those who are under the age of 30 comprise of half of the world's population. Needless to say that more than 3/4 of this youth population lives in developing countries. This generation of young people grow up in an era of unprecedented technological advancement. Therefore, the experiences and knowledge that we acquire in an early stage of life when we are transitioning from childhood to adulthood due to the access of technology and connectivity gives us a competitive advantage to understand complex dynamics and respond to emerging or existing challenges compared to the generations before us. And as much as I'd like to say it's the best of the times to be young, it's also the worst of the times to be a young person on this planet. Many young people live in countries and contexts that are grappling with challenges to development, peace and security, and humanitarian challenges. 600 million young people today live in conflict or fragile settings, while in developed countries, 94% of young people aged 15 to 24 use the internet. It's only 67% in developing countries and only 30% in least developed countries. And nearly 9 out of 10 young people who are not using the internet live in Africa or Asia and the Pacific. Therefore, I want to start out by mentioning that the situation of young people or the impact of AI or any other frontier technologies on the lives of young people, including in education, should rather be looked at by relative terms and not in absolute terms. And with regard to education, there are many opportunities in AI-enabled student-customized learning. AI-based technologies can improve educational content, lower costs, or reduce barriers that limit equal engagement in education. For instance, technologies such as digital tutors, circular playlists, and virtual reality may enhance educational outcomes and provide engaging interactive learning experiences for young people. And most importantly, might give us an opportunity to reach those who are otherwise unreachable. We have already witnessed the rise and impact of education technology, especially through a multitude of adaptive digital learning platforms, to name a few as the Khan Academy, OpenCourseware, MOOCs, and others. And it will be really interesting and most of all essential to see how AI can contribute to further enhancing these platforms to the next level or to their next generation, so that they can reach the most disenfranchised young people, especially those who are living in conflict settings, refugee situations, or simply do not have access to quality education. It's also equally important to emphasize lifelong learning, especially as technological change will inevitably continue. Our education systems need to adapt accordingly, and governments and education systems need to respond to this need rather urgently to ensure that no young person is left behind. One of the concerns that we need to be aware of, though, is the potential impact on local and indigenous languages, as the internet and access to most of these technologies are predominantly in English and other major languages. But I've seen on the ground youth-led initiatives such as CodePhil responding to this concern by aiming to preserve local dialects by teaching young students digital literacy in their mother tongue. Another aspect to bear in mind in using AI for enhancing educational quality and outcomes is to explore how it can help develop skills in young people that will be crucial to find decent employment opportunities. Here, I'm not only referring to formal vocational and technical skills, but also informal soft skills that are adaptable and transferable. I think it's becoming increasingly clear that with the rapid technological advancements, including that in AI, young people will need flexible skills, of course different to what is being taught in our formal education institutions today, in order to thrive in the future places of work driven by knowledge and technology. I deeply believe that human needs, ethics, and values must be at the center of all AI conversations. Artificial intelligence has the potential to positively transform the way the international community assesses and responds to transnational challenges stemming from either impacts of climate change or responding to disease outbreaks. With the power to gather, analyze, and utilize data more effectively than ever before, we can begin to create and imagine the future of humanitarian response and keep young people at the front and center of these discussions. The real opportunity for AI, however, is we can actually accelerate progress in achieving sustainable development goals and help the 7 billion people, especially those who are left behind, that could benefit from these technologies in a practical way. Therefore, it's vital to make sure that transparency, protection, and overall access is equal across all genders, ages, and regions to ensure the efficient promotion of digital citizenship. It's also crucial to ensure that young people are engaged in discussions on AI governance. Young people are not just beneficiaries of technological integration, they are essential actors in finding solutions to the issues faced by the world today. Their innovation, energy, and leadership have been demonstrated across sectors, and they must be fully engaged in all processes in the AI governance discussions. With the gaps in education and technology and due to the digital gender divide, young women, however, are at a higher risk to be marginalized in being empowered to access and utilize these technologies. According to UNICEF, adolescent girls' access to technology is limited by the societies, communities, and families in which they live. In a patriarchal society, it is men who control technology, whether this is new, such as computers or mobile phones, or old, such as radios or televisions. For an example, in Ghana, only 6.6% of females use internet cafes compared with 16.5% of male youth. Therefore, more focus should be given to empower girls and young women with STEM education and break all barriers that hinder the realization of their full potential. Gender equality in the digital age will strengthen and bring together all stakeholders to promote greater inclusive partnerships for the international community. I want to conclude my remarks with a few proposals on harnessing artificial intelligence and keeping young people at the center of it. First, AI should be addressed in an ambitious manner, promoting the use of AI as a tool in the implementation of SDGs, while also addressing emerging ethical and human rights, technical and socioeconomic challenges. As one researcher said, algorithms may be mathematically optimal, but ethically problematic. While human decision-making processes may be susceptible to biases as well, accountability frameworks for AI systems, including for those that are in education, are more ambiguous, and new governance systems are needed for the emerging class of technologies and their applications. Another risk that may emerge is the diffusion of responsibility differ into systems rather than people or institutions to bear the blames of perpetuating inequality. It is time, or if not already late, to think about what accountability systems might work for AI. Second, without improvements in access to technology or internet, increased adoption of AI systems may disproportionately and negatively impact nations and citizens, particularly those in low and middle income nations with underdeveloped infrastructures. It's important for young people to have digital skills and access to the internet, as they have proven to foster growth in healthcare, education, and employment. Various initiatives have been organized by different organizations and governments to promote digital assistance and opportunities for young people. Though inclusion is becoming more common, there is much more work to be done. With the continuous efforts of all leaders together with ITU and partner organizations, and growing up in the era of AI will allow for a more digital and inclusive world for young people with increased investments in technology, education, and training. Third, AI-related programming should take into consideration the needs of all young people, especially those who are at the most disadvantaged. People, and particularly those furthest behind, should be at the center of all AI-related programming and decision-making processes, and must be the first to reap the benefits of AI. Fourth, if you make progress in AI, you make progress in all these different fields at the same time. The applicability of AI for making education and health accessible and affordable is a phenomenon. It's not just an industry that is moving ahead with AI research. So if machine learning algorithms and AI education will help us move beyond stop and test, then who knows what else. AI is potentially the most powerful technology that we have ever created, and it is going to create the next form of civilization. And the beauty, or even some may call it horror, is that it is not happening in 10 years or 20 years, that it is happening now. And we need young people as partners and not passive beneficiaries to reap its positive potential. Thank you.